Now, in 9 days, the U.S. President-elect Joe Biden will be sworn in as the 46th President of the United States of America. So how does this transition impact U.S.-Africa relations going forward? I'm joined by Jude Kearney, he's the chairman of the U.S.-Africa Committee of the Africa Energy Chamber. He joins me now for this conversation. Thank you so much for your time on the show today, Jude. And 2020 was quite a year when you look at the oil industry. And I'm looking at the near term in 2020. How will developments we're seeing in that sector impact African producers going forward? And when you look at what COVID-19 has done to the oil market, and also we've seen the oil prices kind of quite volatile in that period as well. And also, I'd like to get also your sentiments on projections for demand.
Yes. Thanks, Kenneth. Good afternoon. It's a pleasure to be with you, and I'm very happy to join you in discussing what we expect for 2021 and beyond in regards to U.S.-Africa relationships, and in particular in regards to the African oil and gas and energy sectors. You know, in 2007, 2008, 2009, in the major recession that we had in those years, Africa, like the rest of the oil-producing world, was hit very hard, and it caused some, bearishness, obviously, with regards to investors, as well as in regards to outlooks among African governments. However, Africa has a resilience that is well known, and they managed to come out of that recession actually going very strong thereafter. We expect the same. And in fact, despite the fact that 2020 has been very difficult, and COVID in particular has had unbelievably damaging impact on the oil and gas sector generally, there have been bright spots even in 2020 in the oil and gas sector in Africa. As you certainly well know, there are major transactions and investments in Nigeria in particular, but also in Mozambique and the rest of Africa. And there are major moves by major players, including by Chevron and others, and Total, that show that their interest and demand to be a part of the African landscape is still very strong. As we climb out of COVID, and also as we climb out of sort of a political doldrum that was led by the U.S. Failures on COVID and other matters, I think that we will see tremendous benefit coming to Africa and coming to the oil and gas sector in particular. I expect that oil and gas, which is... Go ahead, Kenneth, I'm sorry.
All right, but because it's quite a run of activities that we've seen in the build-up to the U.S. transition next week. But I would like to know what the incoming administration will mean for Africa's oil and gas sector. And you can continue with your expectations.
Yeah. Kenneth, it's not meant to be hyperbole or even a political statement to say that we could not do any worse than we have recently done in regards to U.S.-Africa relations. So even with someone less forward-thinking than Joe Biden, we will have improved over 2020. But as it turns out, Joe Biden himself and his cabinet and some of his senior appointed officials are very focused on Africa. I was involved in some of the development of Africa policy throughout the campaign, working with some people whom I've known for decades who have been focused on Africa and who are now going to be a part of this new administration. The transition will mean very positive partnerships and outlook between the U.S. and its African bilateral partners. So I'm expecting that broadly there will be more resources and more attention paid between the U.S. and Africa. And I also expect that despite a focus on, correcting the role of certain hydrocarbons, everyone has to acknowledge that not just Africa, but a large part of the world still depends on oil and gas. And Africa in particular has many countries which are now only finding those resources afresh. And so it would be certainly ambitious manner.
All right, now finally, Jude, we're looking at a new era here in Africa with the coming on board of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. And I'd also like to get how you think that will impact the future of U.S.-Africa relations, and also still looking at that international interest in Africa. I'd like to know what you think about China and what it will play in Africa's oil and gas sector as well.
Well, Africa sits probably for the last 15 or 20 years in a very enviable position in regards to suitors, outside suitors. It's not just China and Asia that is trying to create the sense that they are Africa's primary partners, but European countries, Eastern European countries, the Middle East, and lately the U.S. as well. I expect that certainly through specific agencies, including Treasury, the U.S. Development Finance Corporation, Exim Bank, we will compete to be Africa's new solid partners. And we recognize that other, jurisdictions, other nations, other regions will also play a role there. But, gone are the days when the U.S. should be bystanders. When Africa is creating its major partners and its important partners.
All right, and thank you so much for your time on the show. Jude Kearney is the chairman of the U.S.-Africa Committee of the Africa Energy Chamber.